Welcome back to the show, Icaro. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again. As always good conversations. I'm really happy to find time to have these conversations with you because legal and crypto are intrinsically connected, and our we have always good level conversation.
Yeah, and typically when you and I get together to have conversations, they usually start off on a bad note. Coinbase is getting sued, or somebody
Yes.
labeled somebody as a security. For today, there's still some bad news out there in regards to Binance and Tether, but overall, I think if you look at the entire space, right now, legal is so much more important, not just because something is labeled as security or looking into, any interactions with Hamas, but more importantly, there is, a lot of institutional interest, with BlackRock coming in and with the Ripple case now seems to be behind us, or maybe that's just the executive portion of it. But with more institutions coming in, the priority for AML and, regulatory clarity is becoming even more important. So I wanted to have a open dialogue with you about some of these things and really kind of get your thoughts on what you make of some of these recent events in crypto from a legal perspective.
Well, it's quite interesting because we have, let's say, people, maybe the traditional crypto degen, they will not like, but for the crypto market as a whole, it is a good point of the institutional money coming back to it, and it has consequences. It has good consequences. Okay, let's say, BlackRock is applying his ETF. We had the lawsuit against SEC, and the SEC didn't appeal from the decision, so it's a matter of time to have the FundRock ETF spot accepted. There are another company that has an ETF requirement before BlackRock, but I am terrible with names, so I cannot remember the name of the company, but the company has a trust, and there is... Sorry?
Is it Grayscale?
Grayscale, yes. Grayscale has a trust in Bitcoin, and they had a request in SEC to change it to a spot ETF Bitcoin. So if we will have, let's say, the first one chronologically, it will be this one. And then we will have BlackRock and all the other companies that requested the ETF spot after SEC didn't appeal from the decision. All this institutional money coming into the market, it raises the instances for KYC and AML and FT procedures. And I think that we are beginning maybe a new, let's say, era on the crypto world where the projects today evolve and not being only projects but becoming businesses. They will need to have strong AML and KYC and FT procedures. There is no way to turn it back. I think that we are just beginning, and I saw some reports, and actually I'm with one of them opened here right now, where this is a report from Chainalysis, maybe, I forget which company, where it shows the transaction volume by transfer size on crypto world. And then we have large institutional and institutional money on the market. We had a lot of this money jumping into the crypto market on 2022. Then we have the bear market, and then we had the FTX problem. And then this institutional money, the institutional and the large institutional money, went off to the market because they thought, oh no, it's too complicated. It's no one land, no security, no safety, no legal regulation, so I'm out. And then a lot of this money in the beginning of 2023 went off to the crypto market. But now, since from April to June of 2023, this money is beginning to come back. But this money is coming back with experience. So they will not put time, efforts, and cash in situations where, or projects where we don't have KYC, KYT, and AML procedures. I am living it, let's say, on my skin right now. I am living in Dubai, heading of legal of a crypto project here, and everything that the crypto project wants to do has deep involvement with KYC, AML, and FT, financial terrorism's policies.
Well, let me interrupt for a second, ÍCARO, because I certainly understand the importance of this for centralized entities, right? Like Binances of the world, Coinbase. But what about some of these like DeFi protocols, decentralized finance projects? I mean, is this something that they really have to worry about? Because technically they're decentralized. So
yes, for the decentralized projects, there's nothing to do because they are decentralized. But we need to, just those projects, they just need to take care of being actually decentralized. Because we already have legal problems with the manager of one decentralized project, because the guy, he was recognized as the manager because the law enforcement agencies, they create profile on the forums of these projects, and then they were following up the forums. And then they collect a lot of information and data where the proposals of these projects and the approval of those proposals were concentrated in a small group. So they say, hey, okay, you are a decentralized project, your token, your smart contracts, you have no ownership on the smart contracts. Okay, really understand you. But that amount of governance tokens are held by few people. And only that those few people have the powers to propose something and to approve or reject something. So we are living a time where the law enforcement agencies, they are becoming more aware of how crypto works. And for the truly decentralized projects, there's nothing to do because they are truly decentralized, so there's nothing to do. You don't have from who to report, or who will sign as a director, or who will be the compliance officer. There isn't, because it is truly decentralized. From the truly ones, it's okay. And it's even interesting because in Brazil, our CBDC are very developed, and it's being developed under Hyperledger Besu, that is an EVM blockchain. And since the beginning was decided to do it with an EVM blockchain, because our government, our central bank, since the beginning has the idea to somehow try to allow the CBDC working in the DeFi system. There's something very interesting where we will have something strictly and highly regulated interacting with the DeFi ecosystem, that the governments know that in a truly decentralized project, there is no way to require any level of regulation. So it will be interesting times from now on.
yeah, I mean, on one side of the spectrum, you have all these very centralized entities, and then the other, very anonymous, super decentralized. Well, you would hope, right? There's definitely some caveats there where projects come off like they are fully decentralized, but when you peel back the layers and you look at the smart contracts, you find that there are some centralized capabilities and components, which that gets more into the security aspect of it, which always is very much aligned with legal. But transitioning a little bit, ÍCARO, why is Binance and Tether, why are they being accused of being affiliated with Hamas? I don't know if you've kept up with this story. I know previously, about 2 weeks ago, I made a video about how Binance was working with local authorities of Israel to pinpoint some accounts that potentially could have been related to Hamas. But where has that gone sideways?
Well, people requiring more information from Tether, more transparency from Tether is not something new. We have all the crypto space have something with Tether since the beginning. They are not completely transparent. We had those problems a few years ago on their reports, their assets actually backing the issuing of USDT. So we have this, let's say, image on Tether that something is going on there. Maybe there is something, maybe had something going on, they fix it, but the image is there. So the regulators, I think that from years away, the regulators will have some kind of, let's say, yellow flag on Tether. And from time to time, someone will require something more deeply investigated inside of Tether. Even if they, I don't know, but even if they had actually achieved, let's say, a good level of assets backing the tokens, the image is already there. So from time to time, it will happen. And I think from the Binance side, we have the same situation because who already was in the market, let's say since 2015, 2016, and 2017 on, we know that the initial approach of Binance on regulations was to avoid it. And Binance, in a few years, they were jumping from country to country, the headquarters of the company, trying to avoid regulation. It was a strategy on Binance. And I believe that in 2020, late 2020, they changed this strategy because they realized that it will not work. They're not because the entire world will regulate crypto. No, the entire world will not regulate crypto. It will take too much time to entire world regulating crypto. But it's not good if you want to seek the traditional financial market money. And the power of the businesses, of the crypto centralized businesses, they will need this financial market money. So Binance changed this approach, set a specific headquarters, and began an action plan to receive the proper licenses in a lot of countries. And it's a very time-consuming job, but they already had a lot of licenses of centralized crypto exchange in a lot of countries. The involvement with Hamas, we need to understand the history of the market. What are the likelihood of Hamas having an account on Binance? Huge.
I imagine it's pretty high, right? Because Binance is the largest exchange.
Yes.
It's hard to get away from, being the largest exchange, that you're exposed to so many vulnerabilities and,
that's part of the game.
Yeah.
And we need to understand too, the KYC process itself. When you have a huge institution like Binance on crypto or banks, the KYC process, despite we having a good level of technology and people really specialize it in KYC and train it and etc., sometimes something will pass. It's impossible to have 100% comply and efficient and 100% of KYC procedures. It's impossible. It's humanity and let's say technologically impossible. So the likelihood of Binance having an account related or connected to Hamas is huge. But it's not because Binance was talking with the guys, hey, Hamas, come on here. I know that you are terrorists and blowing up everywhere. So come on here. I will protect you. Of course, this kind of situation didn't happen because it will be insane. Insane. And even we need to understand let's say, the historical point of things. I don't know if now it's happening, but I remember that a few years ago, CZ, the head of Binance, were living here in Dubai. I don't know if he's still living here because I stopped chasing news on Binance a few years ago, but he was living here. And he had a specific kind of visa here that's called the golden visa. When he received the golden visa, it was more complicated than it is today to receive this golden visa. Basically, in 2019 to 2020, to receive the golden visa, you mostly had to be invited by the royal family. And you had a lot of connections with the royal family. Those people who had the golden visa until 2022, most of them had to be invited by the royal family. And they have contact. And when you have contact with the high level of the country, you begin to learn about the culture, the historic of the country, and etc. And it will be just a completely insanity living here in the Middle East and offering support to a terrorist group. It makes no sense. As a terrorist group itself, or the general idea to support a terrorist group, of course, that they even don't need to deal it. Let's say if CZ comes publicly and says, hey, Hamas, I don't want you here. You are not welcome to my businesses. It will be more profitable to him than sneakily talk to those guys and say, hey, here is a specific account where no one in the world will know that you have. Of course not. It makes no sense financially, culturally, economically, and mentally way to do. So the accusation of, hey, Binance is involved, and etc., we need to understand the news. News need to sell. They need access. They need clicks. And we need to understand politicians too. To be a politician is a career. And we need to understand how the politician career escalates, And sometimes politicians try to make something that make them show up more because they are seeking other positions, other higher positions, or to renew their actual position, so they need to show services. And one very effective way of politicians to show services is to picking with big companies, of big or really public persons. So I think that I will not say that, of course, that Binance is not involved with Hamas. Yes, it's involved, but how? Having accounted related to Hamas that no one in the world will know that it's related in Hamas until something critical, like what is happening now, comes to reality. Because it's very difficult to actually track a KYC process of someone who wants to somehow cheat on KYC process. It's very difficult, And I truly believe that this is the level of involvement. People related to Hamas who have accounts, or maybe very old accounts on Binance where the KYC process wasn't even in place. Because it happens in Brazil, for example, when the beginning of Binance in Brazil, there were zero KYC process. You just create your account and you have full access to all the platform. And then they were upgrading the application, the platform, and then to have access to some certain utilities and certain kind of trades or tools inside the platform, you need to upgrade to another level of KYC. So maybe we have really old accounts on Binance that trade little or don't even trade, but are just storing coins there. And somehow these accounts transferred to addresses correlated to Hamas. So I think that is the level. It's not something related to help. No, it makes no sense financially, ethically, morally, and from a business point of view.
I tend to agree. Working for the leading Web3 security firm, I completely understand how a lot of these media companies want the clicks. And so Binance is always in the news, and there's always some kind of FUD surrounding them, and then somehow it just magically disappears. right?
Mm-hmm.
And the larger you are, the more eyes you have on you, the more of a spotlight you have, the more buttoned up you need to be. And so I can imagine there's immense pressure on CZ to, maintain a certain level of reputation. And to your point, I think this is also why it's so important for, well, even I would say even DeFi protocols should maintain certain level of just monitoring and being able to screen for malicious addresses. You never know when that information will become necessary. So you don't
Yes.
necessarily need to start implementing KYC. If you're, truly decentralized protocol, that's a different debate whether or not they need to or not. But at the very least, if you can not necessarily be able to identify the user, but identify them with the address, and say this address, this wallet is tied directly or indirectly to a specific exploit or perhaps OFAC,
Mm-hmm.
blacklist, whatever the case may be. It's almost like, self-auditing. If you're a company and you're just starting out and you're keeping tabs of all of your expenses, yeah, right now the auditor, the IRS, most likely is not going to come after you, right? If you're making
Mm-hmm.
$100 a month, but you never know what, if you have success. I mean, you never know what's going
Yes.
to happen in the future from a regulatory perspective, and you always want to stay on top of it. So this is something that I advise a lot of even the DeFi protocols to keep doing. But I think as a way of showing their stance against regulation, they choose not to apply these types of
I
programs.
understand you, and
So,
I already saw this happening. And from the people who are developing decentralized protocols and that are watching us, we need to understand, you guys need to understand one point. Technically, on a technical point of view, we know that a fully decentralized protocol can have a blacklist. You can set up on the smart contract rules to update a blacklist of addresses that will not be allowed to interact with your protocol. We know that it can happen. Okay, it will cost a lot of gas. There are complications to do it. There are complications. It's not something that you just go 2-3 lines of solidity and your blacklist is done, set up, and everything. No, we know that it's not so easy to do as a centralized solution, but it's possible. Or maybe you can try to do it on your user interface. Maybe it will be more easier. So at least on the user interface, you are blocking some kind of addresses, and they need to go root on the blockchain to have access to your protocol. You are increasing the level of compliance of your protocol. And people need to have something in mind that, okay, I am a full degen, and I truly believe that everyone needs and can be free, and I know that people have a lot of freedom here in my protocol. I know that I will have bad actors, but I am okay. I'm living with that. I know that bad people always existed in the history of humanity. It will not be my protocol adopting KYC standards that will avoid bad people to live. I already heard literally those words from a group of people. And okay, they have their point, but think financially. Think financially. Why do people develop DeFi solutions? To allow financial products to a large group of people and to profit too. Of course, no one sits on the table and spends months developing a really safe DeFi protocol just to put it running and say, oh, I spent 5 months of my life and my protocol is running and I don't earn no money with that. No, all human beings, we are moved to gain something. And then people who are developing decentralized protocol, they want to earn something, and it's fair because they are developing something that will make happy and make good for a lot of people. So imagine you spending 5 months of your life, and then you launch your decentralized protocol. And then a big financial institution launched a decentralized protocol complied with FACTA, AML, FTC procedures. Which of those protocols will receive the biggest part of the money? Of course, that it will be the comply protocol. Because the fund heads, the fund managers, they have rules to follow. One of the problems that fund managers are not putting a lot of money, at least publicly putting a lot of money in the DeFi protocols, is because they are not allowed by the fund to put money in certain kinds of risks assets. If we apply comply rules to a decentralized protocol, we are reducing the risk of the protocol. And reducing the risk of the protocol, we are allowing big financial institutions to begin to be allowed to access them. So you stay 5 months of your life developing your DeFi protocol, and a big financial institution developed another, or just forked your protocol, adding some kind of comply solutions, and 2 months later, your protocol that was on time high are going to the ground.
Well,
because BlackRock put $1 billion on a decentralized protocol. This will happen. It's just a matter of time. We will have decentralized protocol with compliance rules of financial terrorism and money laundering procedures. It will happen. It's just a matter of time.
So, being that this conversation is between you and I have to, there's a certain group of individuals and entrepreneurs out there that I feel like I need to represent just to create this debate that we're having.
Nice.
And that perspective is that I don't really care about the BlackRocks. I don't really care about making the most money. I'm in this. Yes, I want to make a living, but I'm in this because I fully believe that blockchain technology is all about decentralization. It's about the ultimate freedom. No government, nobody can have an impact on what I choose to do. And so I think that there's a large percentage of people that are just so passionate, and that passion goes beyond just trying to make money. Of course, I think that there will be a percentage of projects that will want to be more regulated because they want to be successful. If they, like you said, if they're going to be spending so much time and energy in this, they want to make sure that it's worth it. But then I feel like there's also certain people, they're not doing things based on business decisions. And maybe this is a flaw to some extent. They're doing it from a pure just passion perspective, which I think is also needed in this space. You know, because if people are always driven by money, they will never do things for the good of others. They will always look out for themselves first and foremost. So hence why we're having this discussion, right? You have different sides of the spectrum.
Yes. I truly believe in you. I know that there are people that is in the space because they believe on decentralization and giving the power back, the financial power back to the people, and it's good, and giving freedom and acting with freedom, and the financial freedom is one of the most of them. And to be financially free is not only being rich, because even being rich, you are not on the fiat system, you are not financially free on the fiat system, even being rich. The government can go, took your bank account, took your assets, and see you. There's nothing that you can do. But I say it from a business point of view. From the business point of view, the situation will happen. From the developers that are not caring for the businesses, they are working from the ideology, they don't need to care about. They just can't. I believe that the people who are in the blockchain space, only for the ideology, to be honest with you, I think they are the most happily people on the blockchain space, because they just don't care. And I believe that the most happiness level of the human being is, I don't care. Oh, my protocol is not receiving billions of dollars because I am not comply. I don't care. My protocol is running as the way that I want it to running. And what makes me happy and feel proud of myself is to have something working on the way that I want to work. I truly believe that those guys are very happy. In the near future, they will not be the richest, or maybe they will not making a lot of money, but they will be happy. And that's good. And they represent a portion of the mentality and the philosophy that we as human beings need to always be aware, to not give up on our freedom. We can give up of our freedom for a lot of things, for healthy situations, for money situations, for relationship situations, for friendship situations. But those really native crypto degen guys, I see them as more as a philosophers than as businessmen, because they are actually philosophers. And I have a proud respect of those guys, because they are really, really remembering something important from the humanity. Do not give up your freedom for anything, not even money. Even money, to be honest, not mainly money, because money is always printed. And if we go to the philosophical point of view, what we call by rich people who had a lot of money. Why do I want to have a lot of money if money is printed, freely printed all over the world? It's rather to me to have my crypto, my small amount of crypto, or my big amount of crypto, and never convert into fiat. So I'm not worried if I am rich or not. I just want to pay my bills. If I am paying my bills and living free, okay, I'm happy.
This legal conversation turned philosophical pretty quick, but it's all relevant, right? This is all very relevant and very important to understand, like, why are we doing what we're doing? And to your point, I think you can be free and maybe you feel rich in that sense. But right now, even a lot of these decentralized protocols or projects that are looking for funding, in a way, you're giving up your freedom, right? Because now you have investors, you have to make them happy. So if you're an employee, you're giving up your freedom. If you are a business and you're providing a service to your clients, you're giving up your freedom, because you always have to answer to somebody. So to a certain degree, the more you want to accomplish, there's a certain level of freedom that you have to give up. You may not look at it as giving up freedom, but in some ways it is. So and those projects that are looking for funding, going back to the original point that you mentioned of these institutions are coming in and they're going to want to make sure that it's compliant. When they see a project that is compliant, meaning the VCs, versus another one that is identical but doesn't have the regulatory framework in place, then most likely it could be exactly the same type of project, but they'll most likely want to go with something that's a little bit more buttoned up, so to speak. So to your point, I think a lot of these folks that do have that philosophical aspirations and really hold true to their ethos of freedom have to make a business decision on how much of that are they willing to give up in exchange for having their hard work be successful in whatever way they deem it to be successful.
Exactly. Completely agree with you. And mainly for those projects that they are looking for funding, a few years ago we had the launch pads. In 2018, 2019, we had the launchpad structures. I am not seeing they happen now okay, we can say no. The market, maybe the market is just beginning to recover. Maybe we are just beginning to transact to a bull market, and it's too early to have the launch pads as we had in 2019, 2018, where the project launched tokens, and we had these closed launch pads where the investors were buying the tokens before they going public, something like a private sale that launch pads worked. Today, I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's too early to see it, but what I am seeing today on my day-by-day basis is that the financial market, the traditional investor, is trying to access crypto. And the traditional investor will only access the comply projects. And as you say, it's a business decision. Then it will reach a moment that those projects that are seeking to raise funds, they will need to move with a business decisions, or they will be integrating some level of compliance, or they will just not having money. To have an idea, on this week, we're onboarding a service provider that it's a service provider that they are a prime broker company. So they allow crypto services to access their account in a lot of centralized exchanges around the world. The level of due diligence is so deep that they ask us the list of IP, Internet Protocol, the number of the IP, which you will access their accounts. I never saw something like that. I never saw. And then I will discuss with the guys, not to question, but just to know, to be aware, because it's something interesting. I was asking to them, why do you need the list of IP where the company will access your prime broker services? And then they told me, because we are geo-blocking sanctioned countries, and that's the first part. We are geo-blocking sanctioned countries, and you will provide me a list of IP. If your account try to be accessed by a different IP, your account will be automatically blocked. So they are upgrading, let's say, the level of safety on their services. So,
but isn't that, got a real quick, isn't that very easy? I'm not as tech savvy, but wouldn't that be very easy to get around by using a VPN?
Yes, but that's the point. If the company try to use a VPN, the access will be blocked.
Okay.
Because they do a check. I sent a list of 18 IPs, and if someone try to access with unspecific credentials without those IPs, those credentials are blocked. So they are trying to increase the level of safety. Let's say, I had my credentials stolen in a Telegram group, or I had the credentials stolen. What already happened in the crypto space? My X account was stolen, and I'm from Brazil, and my X account was stolen, and the guy are asking people and making connections and sending DMs and etc. And then somehow they access the credentials to access, let's say, a Binance account from a guy from Canada, and they are connecting from an IP from, let's say, Lithuania. It will be blocked because the guy from Canada, they show the list of IP that he will access the account. And if someone try to access the account with using a different IP, the account is blocked. So they are trying to increase the level of security, of safety on the services, and at the same time they are complying with sanctioned lists. So that's the level of due diligences that we are beginning to see. And look that the traditional financial market is just beginning to return to crypto. We don't even know if we are really living a truly bull market, or if it was some liquidation of specific positions that were in place.
Changing the topic a little bit, ÍCARO, there are new verticals that I think a lot of entrepreneurs are exploring real world assets, obviously being one of them. And then something a little bit more on the crypto side, more degen, I guess, is SocialFi. And I'm curious to know your thoughts. Some of these new verticals, are they also opening up new cans of worms when it comes to legal repercussions?
I don't saw it happening. I had an account on Friends Tech, or Friend Tech, I don't know. I have an account there. And I know that SocialFi is a new idea, but it's very difficult because you are running against big social media companies. So I don't know if this idea will actually become a businesses, or if it will be just an idea that the traditional companies will not let happen. And to be honest, it's difficult to say, oh, the traditional social media companies will not let SocialFi happen. I don't know, but we need to understand that SocialFi depends on people. And I always like to go back in history and to remember how Instagram became something big, how Facebook became something big, how TikTok became something big, how X became something big. We always had a specific group of people using, and those specific group of people at the early beginning, or let's say at the growth stage, not early beginning, but at the growth stage of those platforms, they are users that had capacity to attract a lot of users. So the idea of SocialFi to somehow finance with your social network is very new, very, very, very new. People do not use social media to finance their behaviors. They use social media to have fun, to see kitties, to see dogs, to see kids, to see OnlyFans, to see cars, to see music. So I think that it's very, very new, and we don't have enough data I don't have enough data to make a stand of it will be a businesses, and it need to be aware of compliance, legal, and those stuffs, or it's will not happen and don't worth your time on KYC on this kind of protocol yet. I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, it's something that I think is, like you said, it's new. It's even earlier than, gaming, and that's still being developed. So to be decided.
Yes, to be decided.
Well,
Yes.
ÍCARO, this was really good, very insightful conversation, as it always is. Really appreciate you hopping on. If anybody has any questions, where can they get in touch?
Ícaro Avelar on LinkedIn. It's my English content. And if you are Brazilian, speak Portuguese, Ícaro Avelar on Instagram too. And on X, Ícaro Avelar. But on X, I am more reading stuff than publishing stuff.
I'll make sure to include those links in the description. Thanks so much for hopping on, and thanks for the chat.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure as always.